In 10.5, you're going to learn about frieze patterns. My objective is to guide you through the application of reflections, rotations, and translations. Let's do some mental math and reflexes first. 78 minus 58. 20. 49 minus 37. 12. 51 minus 20. 31. 84 minus 63. 21. 94 minus 85. 9. 77 minus 58. 19. 46 minus 27. 19 again. 97 minus 59. 38. The next one, 150 minus 42. 108. 283 minus 179. Good, 104. 402 minus 203. 199. And 731 minus 446. 285. Frieze pattern. A frieze pattern is a design made of shapes that are in line. Frieze patterns are often found on the walls of buildings, on the borders of rugs and tiled floors, and on clothing. In many frieze patterns, the same design is reflected over and over. For example, the following frieze pattern was used to decorate a sash worn by a woman from San Felipe San Diego Pueblo in the state of New Mexico. The strange-looking animals reflected in the frieze are probably meant to be horses. Some frieze patterns are made by repeating, translating, the same design instead of reflecting it. These patterns look as if they were made by sliding the design along the strip. An example of such a frieze pattern is the elephant and horse design below that was found on a woman's sarong from Sumba, Indonesia. The elephants and horses repeated in the frieze are all facing in the same direction. The following frieze pattern is similar to one painted on the front page of a Quran in Egypt about 600 years ago. The Quran is the sacred book of Islam. The pattern is more complicated than the two above. It was created with a combination of reflections, rotations, and translations. And did you know the Mayan people decorated their buildings with painted sculpture, wood carvings, and stone mosaics? The decorations were usually arranged in wide friezes. What did you notice about each of the frieze patterns on student reference book page 108? Hopefully you noticed that each pair of horses in the first frieze pattern is the same size and shape, but they face in opposite directions. The line of reflection for each pair of horses is a vertical line running through the center of the flower. Each elephant and horse in the second frieze pattern is the same size and shape and faces in the same direction. Each of the flowers in the third frieze pattern is the same size and shape but is turned in a different direction. In this lesson, you're going to explore examples of frieze patterns to see how designs are created by repeatedly moving figures in three different ways, either by reflections, translations, or rotations. The examples of frieze patterns on student reference book page 108 provide you initial exposure to the rigid motions in which objects retain their shape as they are moved in various ways. So if you haven't looked at page 108, I would suggest you pause this right now and go look at them so that you truly understand what I'm talking about. Then you can always push play again when you're ready to move on. Through work in the preceding lessons, you should be familiar with reflections. Remember that was the top frieze on student reference book page 108 and how it was created by reflecting the horse repeatedly across the vertical lines of reflection? The second frieze is an example of another rigid motion, a translation or slide, in which a shape is moved without being turned or flipped. It's translated. You can see here regular pattern blocks can also be used to illustrate rigid motions. For example, the patterns below was made by a rotation of each figure by 90 degrees clockwise, followed by a translation. So what we're saying is, see how here we have the trapezoid shape. We turned it 90 degrees, so we came up this way, and now it's facing this way. So the rotation went upward 90 degrees. And then we came up with this rotation piece. Now if we turned it another 90 degrees and we turned it upright, this would now be its translation of the one alongside of it. Drawing frieze patterns. Please go to Math Journal page 281 and complete the 3 frieze patterns on the page, and then have some fun and design one of your own. Don't forget to correct it, and then to make sure you did it correctly in the answer key. Next, you'll go to Math Journal page 282. Complete those problems. Again, if you're struggling, first go to your SRB. If you can't figure it out after that, come back and see me. And the final thing you'll do for 10-5 is to continue the patterns that they show you on your study link page.